So we stop complaining, and we no longer do threats, passive or direct. This is the bottom line. This is as far as I'm going. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the puck stops. Whatever word you want to say, it doesn't matter. This is it. This is my bottom line. It's okay to set the boundary, and it's okay to be clear. Fewer words, better, and as respectful as possible, right? Sometimes when somebody's trying to get me to dance in this codependent thing, I will often say, I love you enough, and I love me enough to stop the dance. Right? I love you enough, and I love me enough to stop the dance. In this step, this is where you have to be very clear on your core values and what's important to you. Because a lot of times what people think and say and do reflects their values. Sometimes people are not aligned with their values, or they're unaware of their values. Or maybe you've been in a situation where you've compromised your values, or you've gotten away from what you're really supposed to be doing for whatever distracting reason. And it's time to get back in alignment with what your values are. If I say I value a certain thing and I don't act that way, then I don't really value it. Because Emerson said it, right? Your actions speak so loudly it cannot hear what you're saying. And sometimes I say that to myself, like, wait a second, what are you doing? It's not lining up with what your words are. And that's called a value conflict. Now, when you put a lot of pressure on the system, like a lot of stress, the older ones, the older values, the older belief systems will run the show, always. Which is why, if you want to be effective with newer belief systems, you have to really keep the stress level down in the beginning until that becomes the new history. And that becomes the old.
In a sense, is that sort of like your habitual home, like your comfort zone, going back to what even didn't work?
Yes. Familiar pain is what it's called. There's a pain-pleasure fusion from old times, and so a lot of people have to work through that pain-pleasure fusion. You know, like if the first person and the first people in your life said they loved you while they were hurting you, love and hurt are now bound together, welded together, so you become an adult, and somebody comes around along and hurts you, then you translate it as they must love me. And it's because you learned it back here. They were bound together here, and that fusion happens all the way through until somewhere you consciously break it. Now, the good news is you can break it and change it. It is changeable. But most people go through life, I call it sleepwalking, never breaking the real issue. They just keep rechanging the names, keep changing the situation. But it's the same pattern over and over until they say, well, hold on, wait a second. There are some belief systems in here that aren't working for me any longer. It's not about judging yourself. It's not about beating yourself up. It's not even about blaming anyone. It's about going, hold on. Is this that I believe right now working for me currently in my life for my highest good in 2015? If the answer is no, change it. If the answer is I don't know, it should be no. And unless it's yes, then it needs to be evaluated by you to say, okay, how is it not working? What's up? What do I really searching for my highest good, and where am I taking the stand? Like, there's lots of levels, right? And so our voice is a real big part of it, because what we're speaking and what we're saying today shows up in our life in around 18 months. So if I'm walking around being defeatist today, or fearful today, or angry today, then I can expect that I will continue to see the ripple effect from that gookiness all the way into my future until I stop it. So we live in a society that's given me a lot of fixing now, right? So if I change my thinking today to love, kindness, compassion, and I'm able to pull it off 100% of the time, which humans usually typically don't, then it takes some time before it fills in. You know, it gets a little, the black turns a little dark gray, and then a little bit lighter gray until time goes on, right? It doesn't happen overnight or by lunchtime. Get a big relief if you really go after it, but it takes discipline and time and focus and support and effort. And we live in a society that says we shouldn't have to take any effort to do anything. It should all be handed to us.
Instant.
Which is completely an error, right? And then if you're a smart person like you guys, what happens? I cannot think all this, right? And not only that, 10% of my brain power still beats most of them out there, so I don't have to do anything. I'll just wait till the last minute. But that's not how this works. This works completely differently. It does matter that we have our mental discipline right on track, because our brain, it's still gonna do, the manifestation still happens that same way. We can't cram for the final or pretend like we read the book and just kind of skate because we heard it. That's not how this part works. So those old tactics that we used, they don't work in this arena. Now they might work in another arena, but they don't work here. So it's extremely important for us, right, to really say, okay, these are my decisions. What I'm thinking about today, I will see showing up in my life. Is this really what I want? Because you're in trouble.